For mandatory health insurance, you'd have to buy it whether you want it or not. Can the government really force you to buy a commercial product? Is that even constitutional? What about the tax penalty? Can they do that? Well, we've got two top lawyers, law professors, joining us to debate it. Fair and Balanced coming up next. While lawmakers roll up their sleeves for a heated vote, perhaps this week on a healthcare overhaul plan, here's a question for you. Is it even legal under the U.S. Constitution to force each and every American to buy health insurance? Well, let's ask the experts. Joining us now, Erwin Chemerinsky, who is Dean of the School of Law at the University of California, Irvine, one of the best law professors in the land. Not to be outdone, we also have David Rivkin, a top constitutional law attorney, former official with the Department of Justice. Good to see you both. David, let me start with you.
Good to be with you.
You know, Congress has authority to levy taxes, to regulate interstate commerce. Where in Article 1, Section 8, or anywhere for that matter in the Constitution, is the federal government given the power to regulate people simply because they exist?
Well, you put the question exactly the way I put it in my op-ed piece, and the short answer is nowhere. And let me underscore the key constitutional proposition, the key element of our constitutional architecture. The federal government is the government of limited and enumerated powers. States get broader police powers. If you cannot link what the federal government is trying to do to a specific grant in Article 1, it cannot be done, no matter how compelling the policy reasons may be. And this exceeds the reach of a Commerce Clause. Think about it. You're not regulating any conduct. You're not regulating any activity. You're really compelling people to purchase something. And if you can do this, there's no purchase mandate, be it cars, be it health club memberships, be it fruits and vegetables that the federal government cannot impose. This is not even close. This is too capacious for the Commerce Clause to support.
Professor Chemerinsky, you know, people compare it to car insurance. Well, car insurance is really a misplaced comparison, isn't it? I mean, no one is forced to drive a car. That's a voluntary activity regulated by the states, and the framers left police powers to the state. But here we're talking about a federal health insurance mandate. It would force people to buy a product, and if they don't, they'd be penalized. Didn't the Supreme Court, I think it was Bailey v. Drexel, rule that Congress cannot impose a tax to either penalize people or control their conduct?
This isn't a tax. It is Congress using its power under Article 1, Section 8 to regulate commerce among the states. The reality is that virtually everyone at some point is going to need medical care. If they're in a car accident, they're going to be taken to an emergency room for treatment. If they have a communicable disease, they'll need treatment. The Supreme Court has said that Congress can regulate any economic activity that looked at cumulatively has a substantial effect on interstate commerce. The reality is people having or not having insurance does have a substantial effect on interstate commerce. The only thing I agree with Mr. Rivkin is this isn't a close question. Congress clearly has that power.
Yeah, David, I did run through some of the Supreme Court cases. It seems the justices have given Congress latitude to regulate economic activity. I mean, if refusal to buy health insurance does negatively affect the marketplace by running up these huge medical bills that, you know, hospitals and taxpayers have to absorb, isn't Congress therefore empowered to deal with that impact by mandating coverage?
It's not, and let me point out, there are two cases where actually the things were closer. One is Lopez, which is 95 case, 5-4 decisions. The other one is Morrison, 2000, also 5-4 decisions. And let's forget about splitting hair about whether it's a conduct, activity, or behavior. The key thing that the majority of the Supreme Court, including Justice Kennedy, who is of course still on the bench, who cast the pivotal vote, said this: there's got to be a limiting factor. Okay? If there's no limiting factor, Commerce Clause is infinitely elastic. The federal government is no longer the government of limited enumerated powers. And very importantly, our dual sovereignty system goes out the window because infinitely capacious Commerce Clause plus the Supremacy Clause render states irrelevant. I would ask Professor Chemerinsky, as I asked every person I've debated this issue with, where is the limiting factor? Can Congress not mandate the purchase of cars every few years? Can Congress not mandate the purchase of health club memberships?
Professor?
Where is the limiting factor?
The limiting factor is that everyone is going to need medical care in their life. Not everyone's going to need a car. Not everyone's going to need fruits and vegetables. The reality is that the healthcare system is the largest single part of our gross domestic product. There's clearly here a relationship to interstate commerce without having to get to any of the hypotheticals as to other things.
But Professor,
what's ironic, Sorry, if I may, what's ironic here?
Here's what's troublesome. If I choose not to buy insurance, I'm not engaging in any activity at all. Because if I become ill, I may choose not to seek free hospital care that others have to absorb. I may choose to do nothing at all. So how does my choice impact anybody?
If you get a communicable disease, you're going to be treated. If you're in a car accident, you're going to be treated. The reality is that people not buying insurance do have a substantial effect on interstate commerce. The examples Mr. Rivkin gives, Lopez was about whether Congress could regulate guns possessed in your schools. Morrison was whether Congress could create a cause of action, allowing civil suits for victims of domestic violence or rape. That's very different here than Congress is regulating the choice to engage in or not engage in an economic transaction. Yeah. That's classic
David,
commerce.
you get the last word.
You're wrong, very briefly. You're wrong because in both of those cases, Commerce argued, for example, but carrying guns near schools worsens education. You worsen education, people are not going to be as good. Workers' economy would suffer. This is exactly the reasoning that Supreme Court rejected, okay? And the fundamental point is this. You can compel any kind of behavior from people that would have positive economic impacts. And by the way, just because you choose not to buy government-favored health care, I know plenty of people who self-insure and buy catastrophic coverage. So Greg is right. Your health care footprint can be zero. Lots of people have zero health care footprint. What you want is to coerce a subsidy out of them. It's not a question of making them pay for the cost they really inflict on the economy.
All right, well, both of you have written terrific articles and columns about this, and we invite people to take a look at those. Professor Erwin Chemerinsky and David Rivkin, fascinating subject. I have a feeling that there may be 9 people in black robes who will eventually decide this issue, not us. Thanks for being with us, both of you.
Good to be with you.
Oh, you're not a judge?
I should be.
Oh, I mean, I knew you were a lawyer.